Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the February the 7th, 2022 council meeting to order with the Kitty Hawk Town Hall at 6 o'clock p.m. Thank you all for joining us in person here and those watching from home. If you would join us, if you're able to stand, to join us in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Council. I assume you had a chance to look over the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Second by Charlotte. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, looks like we've got a presentation from Dare County Motorsports Charity Group.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm a member and represent the Dare County Motorcycle Charity Group, and I just want to be here to thank the town and the police department for our, and present a plaque to the police department for the September 21 toy run that we did from Walmart to Vertigo. Basically a non-stop ride. It went really good. It's nice going down Beach Road the whole way. And it just worked. It's the 6th annual. We had 160 motorcycles. Jeep Club came with 195 Jeeps. Our main goal was, when we started this thing 6 years ago, was to help underprivileged kids in Dare County. So along with some other events, we had a good year. We donated $25,000 to the Dare Center, which is used for the Christmas program they do for children and families. $3,000 to a local church. About $4,000 in toys that we had collected, and then we started a few years back doing scholarships for the 3 high schools that came to $1,500 a piece. So trying to do good. So anyway, I think that's it. If anybody has any questions, but I have a plaque I'd like to present to.
Okay, go right ahead. He's right behind you there.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Anyway, we came there without you, and thanks.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you very much.
We're very proud of our police department and what they do. Thank you. Okay, public comment. Does anyone sign up for public comment, Lynn? Anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes.
Does anyone here wish to speak at public comment tonight about any topic? Okay. Okay, let the record show, Lynn, no one chose to speak at public comment. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Lynn, need a second?
Second.
Second by Charlotte. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No. We had no items removed from the consent agenda, so public hearing. We need to go into public hearing. Do we have a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
So moved, Jeff. Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Rob.
So this first text amendment application tonight is for section 42-250D7. The existing language states that no building or other facility, such as parking areas, trash collection areas, etc., shall be located nearer than 50 feet from the boundaries of any residential district. The width of a driveway or road and its right-of-way along such boundary may be included as part or all of the 50-foot separation zone, and subsurface wastewater disposal systems and stormwater runoff collection and disposal systems may be located within the separation zone. The planning board may require vegetation to be planted and maintained in the 50-foot separation zone. The applicant proposed to add the following sentence stating that notwithstanding the proceeding, the width of the separation zone may be reduced from 50 feet to 20 feet for that portion of the commercial lot which is adjacent to any dedicated open space or any recreational area of an adjoining residential development. As noted in the ordinance excerpt, there is currently a 50-foot buffer area on commercial lots in the BC1 district that abut residential districts. The proposal would allow for that buffer to be reduced to 20 feet when that adjacent residential district has dedicated open space or recreational uses on it. That existing 50-foot buffer provides a separation from the residential zones and houses from commercial structures and parking lots. In some cases in town, where a commercial zone abuts a residential zone, there's already a large separation between the residential uses and that commercial zone. An example being commercial lots back up to the Seascape Golf Course, the golf course being zoned residential, so that 50-foot separation area still gets measured from the boundary of the commercial district, even though the commercial use is already separated by 200 to 300 feet from the adjacent residential uses on the other side of the golf course. Another such instance would be the playground area at the Harbor Bay subdivision, as it's a recreational area. That 50-foot separation area is measured from the property line. However, the parking area for the commercial structure is approximately 120 feet from the nearest residential use. As noted in the application letter, the request is specifically for the 50-foot separation zone in the BC1 district. The applicant intentionally omitted the BC2 district from the request. In effect, this limits how many commercial lots that the amendment would currently be applicable to. It's really just a handful of lots in the town. Also attached to the staff report, and I'll put them up on the screen in a minute, is aerial view examples of a few of the places in town that the proposed amendment would impact. At its December 16th planning board meeting, the board unanimously recommended approval of the proposed text amendment. The applicant is on hand if there's any questions of him. And this is one of the areas that I mentioned. You can see the existing 50-foot buffer extends to about this area here. The proposed buffer would reduce it to, or proposed amendment would reduce it to 20 feet. You can see the distance from the nearest house is about 120 feet. So if the text amendment were approved, the property owner would be able to develop an additional 30 feet in, so the distance from the house would be 90 feet from any portion of the development. You can see this is one of the golf course examples. The existing parking lot, which is inside that 50-foot buffer for this commercial use, is approximately 350 feet from the nearest adjacent residential structure as it is. If this site, like I mentioned, the parking lot already exists inside that 50-foot buffer, but if this site were to be redeveloped as it currently is, any building or parking area or anything would have to be offset from that property line 50 feet. I will just point out, because it was a recent approval with the rezoning that we had at 3722 North Croton. This proposed text amendment would not apply to anything over there, would not change anything on that lot. The residential uses on the backside of that lot are all, single-family home sites, so there's no recreational area, so this wouldn't change anything in that circumstance.
Okay, you just mentioned that. I've been asked, I just want to get it on record, this in no way affects anything at First Flight Ridge, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And I will also note too, just based on conversation I had with Councilman Pruitt earlier, I mentioned in the staff report the playground area at Harbor Bay, and Councilman Pruitt asked me about the clubhouse and the pool on the north side of Harbor Bay Drive. And I guess my first thought, and I might let the attorney weigh in too, is that it's not necessarily open space or a recreational area like a park, but a community pool, in my view, would be a recreational use. So I think if approved, that 50-foot buffer in this area, again, in my opinion, would probably be reduced to 20 feet if Starkey has anything you want to weigh in.
Well, I talked to Casey about this amendment, this public hearing item earlier today, and I agree with what you just said.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, does anyone else have questions for Rob? Okay, is the applicant here? Does anyone wish to come up and speak? Okay, come up, sir.
For the record, my name is Ralph Calfee.
How are you, sir?
Yes. I think I've sent all of you emails, and I think Rob has pretty well defined it. This is just a situation where there is a requirement for additional buffer adjacent to residential districts where the adjacent use may not be residential at all. It may in fact be something that is really not impacted by the commercial use. And therefore, we have asked that this buffer have relief for areas where the commercial development is adjacent to either dedicated open space or a recreational use. So that then would cover some of the areas that were discussed, like a swimming area, athletic area, golf course, those kinds of things.
Okay. Council, anybody have questions for Mr. Caffey? None? All right, thank you, sir, very much. Okay, council, we need a motion to go back into regular session for discussion.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, David. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Okay, council, what would you like to do on this matter? Any discussion? Does anybody like to make a motion?
Is there anybody signed up to speak?
We've already done that.
We were? Nobody
Yeah.
signed up for that? Okay.
Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move to adopt the proposed text amendment to the proposed text amendment to Section 42-25B, Item D7, as outlined by staff. Town council has found this proposal to be consistent with the town's adopted land use plan.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have some.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, I don't know what other properties this is going to affect. I just don't have a fuzzy feeling here. I personally, if the property owner, if, say, for instance, the seascape doesn't have a problem with somebody building up to this distance, then I don't have a problem with it. But allowing everybody now, after all this time, we've had a buffer, now we're telling them that they can encroach on maybe this pool house, or I just, you know, I don't, if the people in Harbor Bay, their association and all that own the green space doesn't have a problem with it, I'm open to allow them to have the option, but not if, you know, not if they're not aware of this. It just doesn't seem quite right to me for some reason. I just can't get a hold of it, so that's my discussion on it.
Public hearing was posted, correct, Rob?
Yes, it was advertised in the Coastal Times this past Wednesday and the Wednesday before. Text amendments, because they're not site-specific, they don't get a sign put out on any just specific property or anything, but the newspaper ads were run as required by 160D.
Any further discussion, David?
That doesn't affect, but just, I mean, there's just a couple properties out of effect, just like the Jordan Plaza, it doesn't affect that.
Right, from my scan, it looked like these two parcels here at Harbor Bay, and then the
Seascape property? And
Yeah, just north of Eckner.
the Coldwell Banker building?
These two, and then the multifamily, I guess it's timeshare here at Seascape, that's all zone BC1. Those buildings are about 50 feet off the property line already. And then I believe these parcels are zone BC1 here as well. But these three commercial properties have a restricted covenant that they can only be single-family residences anyway, so.
I mean, I mean, it's not like just because you have a residential piece, a commercial piece that you can, it's not changing the whole line down Kitty Hawk. It's very specific to a golf course which is already a couple hundred feet on top of the 50, right? Plus or minus.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with Jeff, but at the same time, it's not like everybody can now just go encroaching into residential properties. Example, Jordan Plaza can't do that.
Go back to that parcel with the pool and we were talking today, and as far as telling about lot coverage on that existing parcel, that may help out.
I mean, it's already kind of maxed out, it looks like to me.
What could they build there right now? That might help.
So if it were approved,
Parking lot.
yeah, it looks like for either of these, it would probably be limited to, some parking area under the permeable pavement to get that extra lot coverage, because I believe both of these lots are right up on the 60% lot coverage. So, we're not necessarily talking about a new building going in 20 feet from the property line, unless the whole site ended up getting redeveloped.
I mean, that's what I was trying to say. I mean, there's not a whole lot that can even be done anyhow. Maybe a couple extra parking places at best. And don't they already have a tent behind Trio now? Or some type of tie-down sitting
I
area?
believe it's still there, yeah.
I mean, that was all properly permitted with the health department in town. I don't think I have a problem with it.
All right, any further discussion? Jeff?
Good.
Good. Rob?
Okay.
Lynn?
I'm fine.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, Lynn, did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, folks. Okay, need a motion to go back into public hearing for item 8B, another zoning text amendment.
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Rob, thank you.
All right, this one is for section 42-1, zoning definition for lot coverage. The existing definition for lot coverage is a measure of the developed intensity of land use. The term lot coverage includes, but is not limited to, all areas covered by buildings, parking areas, accessory structures, driveways, roads, sidewalks, decks, and any area of concrete or asphalt. Permeable pavement. Lot coverage shall be reduced upon site plan approval by the town by the built-upon area credit established in section C-5, permeable pavement of the NCDEQ Stormwater Design Manual, latest edition, or if a proposed permeable pavement BUA credit has not been assigned by the NCDEQ Stormwater Design Manual, the BUA credit will be as confirmed by NCDEQ Stormwater section upon evaluation. The proposed added language to this is that the wet or water area of a swimming pool shall be exempt from lot coverage calculations up to 500 square feet. Any pool water area in excess of 500 square feet will count towards lot coverage calculations. Staff initiated this proposed text amendment, which, like I said, would allow an exemption in lot coverage calculations for the pool surfaces up to 500 square feet. The current definition does not include pool surface, but for many years, since before I got here, the interpretation had been to consider that pool surface to be lot coverage. Lot coverage refers to areas covered by the buildings, parking areas, accessory structures, driveways, and roads. The purpose of regulating lot coverage is to limit the intensity of developed and impervious areas on any given lot, because an excessive amount of lot coverage could create stormwater management issues, and there would not be adequate storage or infiltration areas for that stormwater. While the body of water is essentially impervious, as additional water cannot infiltrate, but adds to the volume of water. However, given that in most instances there's a gap of a few inches, typically 4 to 6 inches, I think, between the top of the pool water and the adjacent grade of the pool deck, swimming pools typically act as a catch basin for rainwater until that point in which it's collected so much rainwater that the pool water level is flush with the surrounding pool deck. In other words, pool surfaces create no additional runoff until that swimming pool is completely full. The proposed language, which exempts 500 square feet of pool surface area from the lot coverage calculations, is the same practice that Dare County uses. This allows for the majority of the swimming pools in Kitty Hawk to be exempt from lot coverage calculations, but would also prevent a rear yard from being used entirely as a swimming pool in order to preserve some amount of open space and green area. Also should be noted that the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, for their stormwater permitting purposes, do not count pool surfaces as lot coverage. At the December 16th meeting, the planning board unanimously recommended approval of the proposed text amendment. With that, I'll turn it over to any questions.
Okay, anybody have questions for Rob on this matter? Does anyone wishes to speak at this public hearing?
Pete Kelly.
Come on up, Mr. Kelly.
My name's Pete Kelly, and I own Caribbean Pools, so obviously I have a vested interest in being here. But and I appreciate the town council taking this matter up and supporting the matter. But it would just make a couple of observations after, going into my second decade of installing pools in the Outer Banks and dealing with every one of the different townships and municipalities in the different counties. Is that Kitty Hawk has the most stringent stormwater and lot coverage requirements. And that might be by design, but there are a couple of things that, like this proposal that you have are discussing. There's others that are still mentioned under the same group that Rob mentioned, the Department of Environmental Quality, that I would ask that the town council consider for future discussion, and that is slatted decks that go over sand would also, which again, in dealing with all the other townships, in looking at the reason for it, which is the stormwater runoff, is that slatted decks over sand right now in Kitty Hawk County's lot coverage, and that does preclude some of your homeowners in the area not being able to do some things that are within reason, but certainly limits them, especially given what the health department is requiring from the septic side, which is a repair area equal to the size of the existing septic system. So it limits, and Kitty Hawk has some smaller lots, it limits what can be done. And so just within reason, understanding that lot coverage, while it affects the house itself, but also the decks over sand, especially, and even the driveways, as it's also mentioned in the group from the Department of Environmental Quality, that rock itself, not on the load-bearing part of the driveway, also is better for stormwater runoff than just concrete driveway. So it really depends on what the primary focus is for the lot coverage, whether it's controlling the building size and developments. But if it's really stormwater runoff, which a lot of it is, then those are some other things I just asked the council to consider in future conversations. And I would have to say, after decades of dealing with the different townships, that I really appreciate Rob and his team he's got, with Sandy and Phyllis and David, that they do make it easy, but sometimes the covenants and the amendments don't. So just something for the future conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, council, I need a motion to go back into regular session.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any discussion, council, before we vote?
Rob, what the gentleman was speaking of as far as the deck surfaces and things to that effect, I can't think right this minute, am I confusing like a 2-foot cantilever on a deck? The state does not count, but we do, or is it vice versa?
The state would not count it, I guess, yeah, if it shows up on the as-built survey, we would count it as lot coverage. So whatever deck surface they show is gonna be counted for the town, but not for the state.
It's not from the state,
If
right?
if it's, you know, pervious and open underneath.
Like if you take a site plan like First Light Ridge, you got a state calculation on there and you have a town calculation.
Right.
And I think several years ago, the state has reduced that even further. You couldn't have the same calculations in First Light Ridge today if you developed it today,
Okay.
right? Because I think they backed it off some.
Right.
So I guess it's not the time, but I'd like to look into what he was suggesting a little bit further. Please.
All right, council, any more discussion? I personally feel like this is the right thing to do. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move to adopt the proposed text amendment to section 42-1, allowing 500 square feet of pool surface area to be exempted from lot coverage calculations. Town council has found this proposal to be consistent with the town's adopted land use plan.
Second.
All right, got a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carried unanimous. Thank you, council. Thank you, Rob. Okay, item 9, we need to schedule a public hearing. It's only text amendment to our next council meeting. Anybody like to take care of that?
I'll go ahead.
March 7th.
I move to set a public hearing at the town council meeting on March the 7th, 2022, to consider the proposed text amendment to section 42-528 to allow accessory dwelling units to be located in front yards and building heights to be measured from the finished grade.
Very good. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. Item 9B, scheduled public hearing 3933 Welt Street. Would you like to make that motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to set a public hearing at the town council meeting on March the 7th to consider a special use permit application to allow a medical office at 3933 Welt Street.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Charlotte. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you, council. Okay, we're down to new business. We have to make some appointments to the Board of Adjustment and the Recreation Committee. And I'd just like to say one thing, and I think, council, you already have this in mind. We want to appoint some members who participate not only in the meetings, but participate also by their attendance at the meetings. So keep that in mind. Okay, need a motion to appoint a regular member of the Board of Adjustment. Who'd like to make that motion?
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Kip Tab for regular member.
Okay, so we're moving up Kip Tab. That'd be your motion from an alternate, correct?
Right.
Okay, any more nominations?
Is this for alternate or for regular member? I'm sorry.
This would be a regular member.
Board of Adjustment.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to make a nomination.
Okay,
Bear with me, please. I'm going to nominate, make a motion to nominate Abby Berkowitz to be a regular serving member on the Board of Adjustment.
Okay. Any more nominations? Okay, council, we've got 2 nominations for a regular member, Kip Tab and Abby Berkowitz. All in favor of Kip Tab as a regular member? Let's have a show of hands on this. Kip Tab is a regular member. Okay. Abby Berkowitz is a regular member. Okay. Looks like Abby is our nomination. Regular member of the Board of Adjustment with a term of office to expire June 2022. Correct, Lynn?
Yes, and may I get Councilwoman McLean's vote? I didn't see a hand.
I'm sorry, I went with Abby since Kip is already on a committee.
Thank you. Okay, yes.
We're good?
22.
Okay, we do not need to make an alternate because we did not move one up. Now we need to make a chairman nomination for the Board of Adjustment.
I'll make a nomination.
Okay?
I nominate Blair Meads to be moved up to chair for the Board of Adjustments.
Second.
Okay. Any more nominations? Okay, since looks like we got unanimous. All those in favor of Blair Meads being chair?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We good, Lynn?
Yes.
Okay, now we need to make a Recreation Committee appointment. Do I have a nomination for that?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to appoint Ryan Thibodeau to the Recreation Committee with a term of office to expire June 2024.
And I'll second that. Any more nominations? Okay, all in favor of Ryan Thibodeau, Recreation Committee, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Very good. Thank you, Council. I think we put a lot of hard work and thought into that. Thank you very much. Okay, reports from Town Manager.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just a couple updates here on some things that are going on and some future projects that the town has planned. First off, I'd just like to congratulate the police department for receiving a grant from the North Carolina League of Municipalities. They received a safety grant in the amount of $5,000, and that's going to go towards holsters and belts, their equipment belts, which will help with they're a lot better for their backs and upgrade the belts in the police department. So Joe, appreciate you applying for that grant. The town is also in the process, we're going to apply for a Camel Grant it's a beach access grant that's offered by CAMA. I believe there's not a ton of money in that grant fund, but I believe it's $1.2 million that they have to distribute. But so we're going to apply for a $50,000 grant, beach access grant for the repair of the Bird Street crossover. We have that budgeted to replace, but if we can get a grant to pay for a portion of that, that would help our budget out for next fiscal year. So Public Works Director is going to be applying for that grant. We'll keep you posted as we go through the process. We were notified that the beach nourishment contractors, Weeks Marine, they do have a tentative schedule, but it is subject to change, and that's what we've been telling everybody that calls regarding rentals of beach properties here. The time that they spend in front of houses is short, but they plan to be in Kitty Hawk middle of May and probably through June or however long it takes them to do. This all depends on construction and dredge issues or anything that may arise. So these are just tentative dates. They're not anything that's set in stone, but their estimate is to be here between May and June, and they do about 1,000 feet of beach at a time, and then they move on down the beach. The only stipulation they have in their contract is once they begin in Kitty Hawk, they have to finish Kitty Hawk. So once they start, they'll work towards the completion of the project. And the final bid and project cost for that was $9,283,491, whereas the initial project was $18 million. So the renourishment obviously costs less than the initial nourishment. And we are also getting some surveying done for the beach parking and also getting some bids from some contractors to make those improvements. Hopefully we can get some parking improvements made before the summer, but we'll be back here in March with our plan once we receive the bids and get some contractors ready to start once the council can approve it in March. I doubt we'll have anybody be able to start before then, but that'll give them a couple months to do the parking improvements before the summer. So we're looking to start it, looking into Luke Street first and get that going, and then possibly we can get another one done before summer, then we'll do that, and then we'll work towards after summer, completing some of the other side streets there between Lindbergh and NC-12. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Andy. I'm glad to see the beach parking projects get moving there. Thank you very much on that.
I'd like to add to that. I mean, I'd really like to see us really strive hard to do as much as we can before summer.
Yeah.
The residents deserve it, and vacationers do too.
Very good. Well said, David. Mr. Starkey, you liked us so much you came back again, right?
Came back.
Do you have anything, sir?
But I did not bring anything to report, in case he didn't tell me to tell you about anything.
Okay, glad to see you again.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Council, Ms. Charlotte, let's start with you. Do you have any comments?
Let's see. I have a short report from the Recreation Committee, and Chairman Paul Henriquez expressed his appreciation to all the volunteers in Public Works Department for their help in improving the connector trail from Sandy Run Park to Birch Lane. And discussion is ongoing as to how much the state will allow us to improve that area. Safety is a priority, so.
Good. Thank you, Charlotte. Yeah?
Yeah, I'd like to also, I'd like to thank Paul. Paul's out here. Paul, I appreciate all you're doing. The Recreation Department has done a lot for the town over the years, and I'm glad to see Ryan part of the team and look forward to some more of the good work that you've provided for the town, the connector trail, and I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do in the future. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Yeah, Paul, great work. A lot of good stuff in Recreation Committee. We appreciate that. Good job. David?
On the recreation, or on that park, did I read somewhere that you have to get a special permit now to commercially use the park?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was like brought up at the last, I'm on the advisory committee, and they have a LAC meeting, and I believe that was brought up. And commercial activities, I think, were like weddings, and where it's getting, our place is getting to be so popular a destination, so they just, all of a sudden, they didn't want 100 people in there at a big old wedding and not know about it. So I think it's more of just letting them be aware of what's going on inside their area.
So it's not really like it's not really a denial thing so much as just, FYI, I want to know about what's going on.
Isn't that the way it seemed to you a little bit, Andy? They weren't like they were going to prohibit it. It was more like they just wanted to be aware of what was going on.
Yeah, for the most part. I know there was some issues with Covered Bridge Road, and that's an access road for some of the residents, and so they were setting up weddings right in the middle of the street, and so they may not allow that type of thing, but they just want to know what's going on within the reserve and the proper insurance and those types of things. So I think the reserve is kind of wanting to kind of manage that a little bit better. So when they do have an event that takes place, and we get the phone call that their driveway's blocked, and we all are on the same page.
I think it's very similar to our, a gathering permit of over a certain amount of people. I think it's free, if I'm not mistaken, and it's just primarily to let all of a sudden Joel gets a call that there's 1,000 cars somewhere. Joel said, yeah, they're having a party and it's good until 10 o'clock tonight, you know.
It's all related.
Call me after 10, right, Joe?
It's related for events.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, you know,
It's not being restricted.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anything else, David?
No, sir.
Lynn?
Just waiting for the weather to warm up.
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
yeah.
But thank you to everybody on the staff and everybody that's keeping us under control while I'm hibernating.
Thanks to staff and all our department heads and department members. You're doing a great job. This has been a great meeting again, and I appreciate it, Council. Okay, anything?
Yeah, if I could, Joel Johnson, Joel, our police chief, do you want to talk about this or no? You've been presented the
Yes.
Kitty Hawk Police Department annual report.
Yes.
It's a nice report that talks about all the ins and outs of things that have taken place for 2021. And the police department works hard on doing this every year and talks about their programs. And as you know, we're increasing the program line item in the budget for next year. You know, we're doing some good things, the fishing tournament, skate competition, skateboard competition. Those are starting to really get to be popular and people like them. And it's a good way to get out and do some community policing. So, anyways, you've been copied to that report this evening.
Thank you
Thank you,
again,
Joel.
Chief. I look forward to reading this every year, to be honest. I look forward
I do
to it.
too.
Look forward to be honest.
I do
Okay,
have one quick question for
Yes.
Joel. Chief, we're getting some equipment to carry the equipment. And I remember someone asking me a couple years ago, how much does the equipment an officer has to carry weigh? So they're hauling around 10 to 15 pounds around their waist, on their shoulders, in addition to just being equipped to do their job.
yep, yep.
Okay, that was all I had to ask.
It was probably heavier when Craig was with the highway patrol.
Years ago, right?
I'm sure it did.
Yeah. All right, anything else, Council? Very good. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion is-
Second.
Second, third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is adjourned. Meeting is adjourned.